I need your deck. This is a bad one, the worst yet. There was an escape from the off-world colonies 2 weeks ago. 6 replicants, 3 male, 3 female. They slaughtered 20...
A Blade Runner's job is to hunt down replicants. Manufactured humans you can't tell from the real thing.
What's this?
Roy Batty, probably the leader.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey, hey!
This week, we'll be discussing the science fiction classic, Blade Runner, starring Rutger Hauer, Harrison Ford.
I love
Daryl
how you lead with Rutger Hauer, because yes.
I did that for you. I love me some Harrison, but I have to tip the cat, or tip the cap and the cat to Rutger Hauer while we're at it.
I think we need to turn that into a phrase. I'm tipping the cat. I tip the cat to you.
So, Aaron, give us the quick synopsis of Blade Runner.
All right. So it's the future. It's November 2019, which seems like the past right now. But at the time, it was the future because it was 1982. So in the future, society has fallen into disrepair. This is Los Angeles. It's high rises and slums. It rains acid rain all day, all the time. It is gritty. It has become even more multicultural with a heavy, heavy Asian influence. People speak a strange combination of some Asian language, some Mexican, and it's a melange. It's not Esperanto, though. But it's something else.
It's a melange.
It's a melange. It's a swirly-do. So, in this futuristic, post-apocalyptic world, we have created androids so sophisticated that you need experts to tell them apart from regular humans. So now, these androids have escaped an off-world colony and have come to Earth. Why? We don't know why yet. But Harrison Ford has been tapped, Deckard is his name, to come and kill these people because they're not allowed to exist on the Earth. Crazy business ensues with Harrison Ford boinking one different android, killing some, sleeping with others.
Yep.
You worry about the androids. They're evil. Then you feel sorry for the androids. Rutger Hauer is, as we used to say in the old days, is a stone cold fox. And quite frankly, Harrison Ford just rolling off of Indiana Jones is not too shabby himself. In the end, Deckard has a change of heart and runs off into the land of the shining with Rachel, the android. But is he an android? We don't know.
The land of the shining. Interesting. That's going to make more sense when we get to behind the scenes. But for right now, you just got to sit with the land of the shining for the moment.
And I didn't want to go too deep dive, but I could go on and go play by play deep into this minutia because although you are wishy-washy on this film, to me, it blows my mind because it just... before M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, there was Ridley Scott and Philip K. Dick doing the old switcheroo.
Perfect. This movie came out in 82. I was 7 years old. But what were your initial thoughts when this movie was out? Do you remember?
Okay, in 82, I was a junior in high school, living in Arizona at boarding school, where I didn't even have a TV. I missed all the Prime Dallas years because we had no television in my half Amish boarding school. So I'm sure I did not see this until probably in college. I probably rolled up to somebody's house, and that's how I found Highlander. Like, the party was over and people were putting on a movie, and I was too drunk to go home and I don't know, whatever. So I just sat there and watched this. And I was blown away because normally I'm like sci-fi. I mean, sci-fi was for people, got guys who didn't bathe on a regular basis and always had very poor skin.
Not much has changed, I'm sad to say. I remember, because again, when I was 7 or whatever, the only movie that would be like Disney movies or whatever happened to be on HBO at that time. But that was severely regulated. You know, I could see Indiana Jones, I could see Star Wars, but I couldn't see Blade Runner. Why? Because it was an R-rated movie. Not allowed.
It all goes back to you watching The Jerk.
That's correct.
On the movie channel and acting out blue scenes for like the family priest.
That's correct.
They call me shithead around here. Boom, cable box gone.
Yeah. So I did not get to watch or experience Blade Runner. I'd heard of it, obviously, but I didn't know much about it. I didn't see it until the 90s, I don't think.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I really don't feel like I had much of an impression of it. I wound up seeing it about 10 years ago, and it was like the director's cut. We're going to talk about how there's 3 different versions of this.
The first time I saw it, the first one of the Blade Runner edited versions that I ever saw at the theater was, that director's cut.
Which I have to, and I told you this before, there's no voiceover, so for me, I found it plodding and boring the first time I saw it all the way through. So there you have it.
It was literally, I had seen the original Blade Runner, I'm sure from Blockbuster, but time had passed. A lot of time had passed. So I went with, I don't remember who, to go see the director's cut. And I was like, why did I like this movie? This is so boring.
Right.
I'm like, I don't remember opening like this. Where literally, I mean, the visuals are stunning.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes.
It's not like Star Wars where they brought in Muppets and everything. This is still sophisticated, like a John Wick sophistication.
I wouldn't have minded a Muppet or two roaming around. I have to tell you.
Get out of here. But yeah, I was like, God, I don't remember. And then finally it picked up. But, it definitely had like what we call the European flavor. European is code for artsy boring.
Right. I do not disagree. The only reason why we did it this time for our show is because you had just finished reading the book. And we're all hot to trot about it. So we had to go back to it. Now, what's the name of the book?
No. No, that is not what we did. I always wanted to see I can't speak, theatrical release.
Okay.
I don't like the later ones, but I was delaying it to do the book because we got positive feedback on The Shining because we'd both read the book.
That is true. So it's good to kind of compare and contrast.
Right. And this was on my hot list of what to see. And quite frankly, I ended up getting the book when I was doing my Blade Runner tour. Because I went to the last bookstore in downtown LA, part of that tour, and picked up the book there.
There you have it. And what's the name of the book?
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
Okay, we're going to talk about that more during Behind the Scenes.
Behind the Scenes.
Let's jump right in to the highlights. What we're going to do is, rather than kind of recap the entire plot, we're going to each kind of throw out a few highlights, if you will, important scenes, whatever, that we want to talk about. The first one I want to talk about is at the beginning of the movie, they talk about one of the tests. It's called the Voight-Kaufman or whatever test. I don't remember.
No, I think that's what it's in.
Something like that. It's like an empathy test where they hook you up and look at like your eyes, check out like your autonomic responses, essentially, to like stimula, basically, right? Kind of emotional response.
Yes, it's kind of like a lie detector. But that it's just looking for those emotional response, because the idea is these androids, the Nexus 6, have everything that people have, but no empathy, because then they would be human. So they think by withholding that, which quite frankly, if you have monsters that are superhuman who don't feel bad about things.
Right.
That seems like a recipe for disaster.
This is a problem. Well, okay, going back a little bit. Basically what's happened in this future of November 2019, there are these androids that are called replicants. They're androids in the book, replicants in the movie, and they're essentially used as slave labor off planet, right?
Off
at these
planet.
sites. And because they're so advanced, they are self-aware and are starting to rebel to the point where Earth has now made them illegal. They cannot exist on Earth and are required to be destroyed on sight. Destroyed. They call it retired in the movie. It is straight assassination.
Yeah, it's you be dead now.
Totally. I mean, because they are so lifelike that it's essentially murder when you kill these. And so they have, and this is obviously a big enough problem, that they have cops that are called Blade Runners, whose whole job on the police force is to hunt down and murder these replicants, essentially. But they're so advanced, the only way they can tell if they're a replicant or a human is through this test,
right?
Essentially. Right. So at the beginning of the movie, they're kind of demonstrating one of these tests. This Blade Runner named Holden is interviewing a guy who works at the Tyrell Corporation named Leon. And what I had to say, and I've mentioned this to you before, I find the test very bizarre because it isn't like true or false, what's the first word that pops in your head kind of test, fill in the blanks. It's more like I'm going to kind of talk about a bizarre scene and you're going to interject your random emotional ramblings from time to time. So you're walking through the desert. Why am I walking through the desert? Why would I be there? I don't know. Maybe you just want to get away. Okay, well, whatever. And you see a turtle on the floor. What's a turtle? Okay. Can I just get through the question before you interrupt me? But that's neither here nor there. The issue is, so Leon is revealed to be a replicant because halfway through the test, he pulls out a gun and shoots the Blade Runner.
Right. He's like just snaps and then
he
just
snaps.
Boom.
It would seem to be like this is a high price to pay to figure out if he's actually a replicant or not. So I have to be murdered to get a positive test. Is that how this works?
Pretty much, because they can't retire you until you've done the test. And it seems to me, empathy or no empathy, you kind of figure you probably, if they're trying to give you the test, you reach over and pop their head like a grape.
Pretty much. So that was a question mark, to say the least. Now, Aaron, did you have a highlight you wanted to share?
All right. So right after that scene is where we see the post-apocalyptic LA. And I just think it is just stunning. It's these floating billboards of Japanese women selling products. Yep. It was like if Times Square in New York were floating. I guess it's more like a Hong Kong is what I'm thinking about. But it's the giant floating billboards. It is just
like blimps with like electronic billboards on the side
with loudspeakers, which gives you more of that we're in Asia somewhere flair. And just the mood. So you have skyscrapers next to just old buildings. It's like that mix. It's like real LA, where you have the modern mixed in with the old and the decay, or like in Europe and such. But it just really sets the mood. It's visual overload. It's crowded. It is loud. It really sets the mood for the future, and it's just visually stunning and just stands up after 40 years, 30 years. I can't do
no
math.
Question. Well, it's always rainy, and all of these skyscrapers like literally shoot flames out sporadically for no reason.
Oh yeah,
it's an artistic choice.
It reminds me of like these refineries out where I live, where there's always something burning. I'm like, is that some kind of an environmental hazard? Is it just supposed to burn this greasy whatever the hell it is?
Right.
So that's what made me think the earth is clearly dying and they're advertising for people to leave. So anyone who clearly could is leaving Earth.
Right. some people can't leave for a variety of reasons.
Right. In the book, it was like, if you're intellectually disabled, if you have diseases, it's a very classist kind of thing. So the rich are leaving and the poor are left to just fend for themselves in this decaying world.
Lovely. So it's kind of similar to the way things are today, is what you're saying.
But without the blimps do have riding on them, but
Goodyear or whatever.
It's not quite the same.
Another scene that I want to talk about. First of all, okay, so Harrison Ford is the Blade Runner hunt whose job is to go out and catch these 4 or 5 replicants that have come to Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they show, like, here's like a view screen of each of the replicants. You got Roy, you've got Leon, you've got Zora, you've got Pris. And what I kept thinking to myself is, if we know what they look like, do we have to give them the empathy test at that point?
Yeah, I mean, basically, well, I will tell you.
If we have a picture of them, do we have to give them the test? This is a good question.
That is a good question. Now in the book, there's only like a certain number of like bodies. Remember, like in that old Twilight Zone episode where you can come in and pick the body?
Oh yeah.
So in the book, there's the Rachel is the one he's sleeping with, but there's also one of the escape people looks exactly like her, is another model of that.
Oh really? That's an interesting slant.
Just for fun. But you got a good point there.
So okay. Well, we
kill Rutger Hauer. Nobody looks like Rutger Hauer.
Right. If you see them, just kill them. You don't have to give them the test.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So we discovered the plan for these replicants is they only have, because they're so advanced, they're stronger, they're faster, they're smarter, they only have a 4-year lifespan to kind of keep them in check, basically.
Right.
And because they're self-aware, they know that they have only a 4-year lifespan. So they've come to Earth to meet with Tyrell, to find some way to get an audience with Tyrell, who runs the company who produces the replicants, basically. If anybody can fix their problem, he can.
He is their father and their god.
So Leon, at the beginning of the movie, the reason he was being tested is because he actually started working at the Tyrell Corporation in a sense to get closer to Tyrell. Roy and Pris kind of set up a plan where they're going to kind of manipulate somebody who's close to Tyrell to get close to him. Okay, that all makes sense. The 4th one, Zora, goes to work as an exotic dancer with a snake. And I'm not sure how this gets her closer to Tyrell at all. What does this have to do? I mean, does he go to this club on occasion? Does he like looking at snakes? Is she just need a little extra cash on the side? Why did she come to Earth to immediately become an exotic dancer?
Well, I'm wondering if, one, they've got to, I assume they need to eat or something, but they got to hide too because they're actively being hunted. But you're right, a stage performer? Maybe not.
And again, so he knows Harrison Ford knows what she looks like. And yet he goes undercover to go talk to her, says he's with the council on stripper abuse or something. Something bizarre.
He affects this strange I don't know, homosexual. It was
it was very bizarre.
It was very bizarre and vaguely offensive, but
vaguely. So she straps on her high boots, her vinyl over jacket, and Princess Leia's top from Jabba the Hutt.
Is this why this is one of your favorite?
One of my favorite scenes. And he chases her and he guns her down in full view of 100 people, shooting her in the back. Her only crime is evidently running away. But if you're a Blade Runner, anything goes.
But no, she whacked him. Didn't she hit him or push him? Because once they do that, then you don't have to give them the test. So anyone that pushes you may be an android, so you can shoot him, I think.
Right. Well, again, we've already established that they can kill you on sight. It's pretty rough. I mean, he's shooting through the crowd, essentially, murdering her. Leon the other replicant pops up. He's like her boyfriend, I guess.
I'm guessing because in this movie, yeah, it looks like it's two couples that have escaped.
Right. So he picks up Harrison Ford, starts smacking him around, and then Rachel pops up out of nowhere and shoots Leon through the back of the head, literally while he's face to face with Harrison Ford.
And so, prior to this, there's not a real connection between Harrison Ford and the Rachel character.
But he's Harrison Ford. He's a handsome devil.
He's a handsome devil.
He's a handsome devil.
Yeah, so how did she know where he was? She always just wanders the street in her fur coat, packing heat. I don't know.
Good
coincidence.
Well, she picked up his gun, but it was almost as recklessly. Her firing was almost as reckless as Harrison Ford was 2 minutes earlier. That's all I'm saying. What about you? Any other scenes you want to talk about?
All right. So I love the scene when they are in J.S. Sebastian's house.
Yeah.
The toy maker. He's the toy maker. I'm thinking of Benny Hill in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Gone terribly wrong.
Yes.
So it is a combination of small people, regular people, all like, I don't know about you, but if I was that lonely, I would try to make these animatronic creatures more human-like. I don't need a teddy bear, a little general, a clown, a half ballerina, and whatnot haunting my apartment.
Right. He has no friends, so he creates his own, these kind of frightening characters like Five Nights at Freddy.
It is Friday Night at Freddy, bumping into walls, scratching around, eyes darting wildly around. It reminded me like some horror movie I saw where they're like encased in some kind of a plastic, but they're still alive inside with these eyes darting around.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I think that's exactly what it is. Poor actors.
Well, I mean, give the guy a break. He's got a touch of the progeria, so he's doing his best. No one wants to hang out with him. He can't go off world.
He looks like he's about 47, and he announces, what did he say? He's 26?
Something like that. Yeah. It's a sad situation.
Because the aliens, the replicants have no tact. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why haven't you left?
Why are you so old and unattractive? What's your problem? Pretty much. Another scene that I found vaguely amusing is there's the scene where Harrison Ford and Rachel is revealed as she's Tyrell's personal assistant, but she's also a replicant who doesn't know she's a replicant.
And she's Tyrell's niece. Isn't that how she's introduced?
No, she just has Tyrell's niece's memories.
Oh.
Is what it is. Basically, to make her less easily detectable as a replicant. So, again, in an effort to flout the law, essentially, if a replicant doesn't know they're a replicant, they're harder to detect as such. And to do that, they implant memories that are not their real memories from like their childhood, which they never had, essentially. So there's the scene.
Because in the book, they when they tried to build these without any kind of a backstory, they're so sophisticated that they would just fry out and shut down. Because they're so close to human. It's like you're born at 40 and your brain is thinking and wondering, and you're so close to human. So that's why they had to give them. They all have these strange backstories, false memories. They carry pictures around. It's trying to make a connection.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah. I had no idea.
See, it's deep, man. It's got all kinds of levels.
It's very deep. So Rachel visits Harrison Ford in his apartment. Harrison Ford's boozing it up. And at one point, he tries to put the move on her. This is Sean Young, who's playing Rachel. He tries to move on her. She kind of gives him the stiff arm, the Heisman, and then tries to leave. And he's basically a sexual predator at this point. He slams the door shut.
He's like a sexy Weinstein.
Exactly. She cannot escape. right? He pushes her back, poof, and then he says, like, tell me you want me. She's like, what? Tell me you want me. I want you? And it was like he forces himself upon her. It's very disturbing. This is our hero, nonetheless.
But
very upsetting.
I'm going to make some excuses here. One,
Harrison Ford?
Well, he gets a pass for that. But here's two things.
Lay it on me.
This is basically a film noir.
Yes.
So
Day rape was standard.
In the genre, it's all. How many times did Humphrey Bogart slap Lauren Bacall or some other chick in like The Big Sleep? It was like the rough people in a rough time. There was like they regularly hit women. They were getting knocked out left and right. It's kind of the genre. It's femme fatales, and they're not innocent victims either. Because clearly Rachel could have ripped off his arm and beat him to death with it. Same with Lauren Bacall. In the film noir genre, these women are always murderers. It was always the detective falling in love with the murderess who's killing people left and right. They're always packing heat. They're dangerous women.
Yeah. Well, there were multiple scenes in those Humphrey Bogart movies where he just walked into a room to start smacking people for no reason.
Smacking
women, children, it didn't matter.
It's like a dog humping your leg. He's showing them his power.
He just couldn't control himself. It was very upsetting. That's how you set the tone early. Sweet Lord. Anything else? Any other highlights you have?
And then, of course, at the end, the Roy Batty. At the end, you see Harrison Ford is down to the last replicant. Roy Batty, played by the most beautiful Rutger Hauer. He was never so beautiful after that. So they're duking it out. At the end, Harrison Ford is going over the edge of this building. He's about to die. But at the last minute, Roy Batty reaches down, grabs him by the arm, and pulls him up. He shows empathy. You see this? He shows humanity. He shows that he is, as they say at Tyrell, more human than human. He showed Harrison Ford more compassion than Harrison Ford showed to the Nexus 6 people. And then he gave the Tears in the Rain speech, which Rutger Hauer wrote himself. And then he just dies. He just shuts down and dies.
So he shows in that moment, he goes, I know I'm going to die, but in this moment, I don't want you to die as well. I'm going to save you even though I know I'm dying. And I wrote down the speech. This is a famous speech.
Say it just like Rutger would say
accent?
it. Give me some
I'll work on my Dutch
Put
accent.
on your Dutch accent. Let's hear.
No,
say it like Jesse from 90 Day Fiancé.
Good luck with that. He says, I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched E-beams glitter near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
Not tears of a clown when there's no one around.
That's it. Good time. That is arguably one of the most moving scenes in science fiction movie history.
I'm telling you, I think this is one of the best. I'm going to say it's one of the best movies, but it's definitely also one of the best sci-fi.
It's good, but not as good as you think it is. That would be my argument.
Damn it! It is future noir.
And that's an important part of this because it's that interesting juxtaposition of the futuristic science fiction with replicants running around with that hard-boiled private eye Sam Spade Maltese Falcon kind of overlay on.
Absolutely.
So that was kind of cool. Any other highlights before we move on with our lives or to the next thing?
No, I'm ready to roll. It is just solid as burr rock.
That's exactly right. Okay, so those were our highlights. We're going to cut right to behind the scenes. Are there any kind of interesting or important things you learned about the book that would help us understand the movie more?
Well, interesting thing about the book is, in the book, Roy Deckard is a married guy, and
Rick Deckard.
Rick Deckard is a married guy. His wife's name is like Iran. It doesn't really matter. But the reason he's going back to get these creatures is, besides being on the police force, he gets $1,000 bounty. And the guy who has seniority over him has been killed by these Nexus 6 robots. Mm-hmm. So he's going to kill these people, as many as he can, because in the future world, the reason why they call it "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" is he has an electric sheep, and it's very shameful that it's not a real sheep. In the future, all animals have died during this Third World War. So almost all of them. I mean, there are a few, but there's also these companies that make these kind of like android ones.
Right. Well, doesn't the Tyrell Corporation make them as well?
I believe it's the Rosen. The Rosen Corporation is the one and it's off-world.
I see. So it's Rosen in the book, Tyrell in the movie.
Right.
Gotcha.
And of course, in the book, the androids are not looking for their creator. They do not have an expiration date. They've escaped, and they are just trying to live.
Now, I got to jump in here. I mean, does Rick Deckard moonlight as working at a petting zoo? I mean, why does he have a sheep? Does he have some alpaca?
It's a status thing. It is the BMW. It was the Saab of the 80s. So people they have cats, horses. They all live by this guide, and I can't remember the name of the guide, but it just lists the prices. It's like an auction catalog. If you could find this animal, it would be it would cost this much. So having any kind of like pet, like a real pet, is prohibitively. So like he has to kill 6 of these. So it'd be like $6,000 for the down payment. He ends up buying like a goat, like a Nubian goat. And this is just like a down payment. It was going to be.
I might just get a goldfish at this stage of the game. I don't know.
At one point, he finds a frog and brings it home, and gets all excited till his wife looks at it and realizes it's fake too. It has an off switch.
Wah, 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 wah.
So that's what that is. He's more mercenary. He's going to do this. He doesn't necessarily care for it. He has a partner who's hardcore into it, enjoys it, loves it, is kind of a real asshole. And at one point, the Zora character, who's an opera singer in the book, tries to
not an exotic dancer.
Not an exotic dancer. She is like world famous. Like they've escaped a long time ago. So she is super famous, has tons of fans, has a beautiful voice, and his jerky friend is really there's no compassion. This is like, crushing a soda can and throwing it in the recycling bin for this dude. So she tries to convince Deckard that this dude could be a replicant, because what would be the best kind of Blade Runner? And they don't say Blade Runner in the book, but another replicant. Right? Because they don't have to worry about the empathy. A replicant that doesn't know it's a replicant, who hunts other replicants. That would be the perfect thing. So that's kind of why in the movie at the end, is he a replicant? Is he not a replicant?
And this is a question that has been grappled with. Ridley Scott, who directed this, recently said that Rick Deckard is a replicant and was always a replicant. Cantankerous old Harrison Ford angrily is like, hell no. We talked about it then. We agreed. Rick Deckard's a human. Rutger Hauer came out and said it's very important that Rick Deckard is a human, because then it kind of sets up that man versus machine.
Absolutely.
At the end of the movie.
Who is more human?
Right. The human or the machine. So that's the question. So
absolutely. I mean, it's a fun idea to go whoop, but I think it works better that he is a human who found his humanity.
And I like the idea of we don't know. We don't know, because there are things that occur in this that suggest he's human, and there are things in this that suggest he could be a replicant.
Right.
Like they talked about how the replicants, like, take photos and carry photos with them. Even photos that aren't of them or their friends or whatever they have. It's just something to kind of give them some sense of humanity. Looking back at these old photos, that even if they belong to other people. Harrison Ford has got a bunch of crazy old photos all over his piano.
From 1910, 1800s, all over his piano.
From 100 years before when this movie takes place. So does that mean something? I don't know.
It could be a red herring. Get you thinking.
Well, again, multiple times in this movie, he's getting his butt kicked by a real live replicant. Leon's kicking his butt. Rutger Hauer's kicking his butt. Zora's kicking his butt. You'd figure if he was a replicant, it wouldn't be such a one-sided affair.
Right.
Question mark. They also talk about how when you watch the movie, the replicants, their eyes kind of glow. If you shine a light on them a certain way.
Like cats, like animals, the light bounces back and you get that red eye. People don't do that except in photographs. Through the crazy old red eye.
Right. Now, most of the time, Harrison Ford's eyes are just normal. But if you look close, there's at least one scene where his eyes appear to kind of shimmer as well.
Ooh, I didn't see that one.
Who knows? We may never get to the bottom of this.
Très intéressant.
There was another interesting thing. We talked about how there were multiple versions of this.
Right.
The studio executives are the ones who insisted that the original theatrical release had kind of a voiceover to make it more like those old hard-boiled detective movies from the past, basically.
Right.
But they weren't initially supposed to be there. So, and I know Harrison Ford was totally against having them. Some would argue it's lazy writing. You're supposed to show, you're not supposed to tell. And you could tell that maybe he wasn't all that enthusiastic by his performance doing the voiceovers.
And I never noticed that there was anything wrong.
Well, but that kind of, him kind of playing it understated kind of goes with his character anyway.
Absolutely. And I'm telling you, if this in fact is your vision of a future noir, they always had the voiceover. They always had the voiceover. But did they not want it to be film noir? Are we reading into that? Because it reads like noir.
Well, it's like you're saying, if it has the voiceover and then you're seeing Rachel with her shoulder pads and her crazy hairstyle.
Oh my God. The costumes, I love it because it's stylized, but it's not frickin' Logan's Run. You know what I mean? It's not Omega Man. It's believable. Whoever did the costume design, it's spot on. Except for Joanna Cassidy's crazy clip-on halter top. That was just an excuse to see her boobs. So
that's all the excuse I need. So. No, but that kind of goes with it. Like the detective character, he's a hard drinker. There's everyone's smoking, chain smoking.
It's fighting, it's sneaking around dark alleys. Yeah, it's smoking, it's drinking, I'm depressed, I'm not sleeping. Yeah, it's absolutely that. It's Humphrey Bogart.
Now, when they did the director's cut 20 years later, they removed all the voiceover. And at that point, in my mind, it ceased to be as much of a noir and more of, like you said before, kind of like a artsy-fartsy European thing, where it's a lot of just Harrison Ford staring.
Yeah.
While the light changes, Because it's like if you're driving, go ahead.
And it's a misnomer because it's not the director's cut. He did not re-edit it.
Right. It's all a mystery. Who knows what's going on, for God's sake.
For God's sake.
Any other behind the scenes you want to share?
Let me take a look. I had a funny story about there's this long article I found online, so Lord knows I probably should have cited it or something. But anyway, it's an interview with the original scriptwriter. And he was talking about, there were like 3 books that he wanted to do like a treatment on, see if he can get this thing rolling. And one of them was this book, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And was looking for Philip K. Dick. No one could find him because he was, he was an interesting character. And he was, even his agent at the time didn't even know where he was, how to get in contact with him, anything. He was like a ghost in the wind. So he was walking down the street with his girlfriend at the time, Barbara Hershey, and this man came up to him, was trying to get his attention. And Barbara Hershey's like, this dude wants to talk to you. And he was like super annoyed. He was like, all right. And he turned around and he realized it was Ray Bradbury, who had done a project with like a couple of years before. So he's talking to Ray Bradbury, and and he's like, hey, I'm trying to find Philip K. Dick. He's like, oh, I got his number on my phone. Do you want me to give it to you? Boom. So if he hadn't listened to Barbara Hershey, there could be no Blade Runner. I mean, he eventually was fired because he had a whole series of bad ideas, but he at least got the rights and got this bad boy going.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby.
Good times. Okay, let's talk about the cast if we can. We talked about, first of all, like we said, this is directed by Ridley Scott. You think this was the finest Ridley Scott movie in creation. Is that correct?
I will tell you, there's 2 movies that Ridley Scott did that are solid as Barack. And that was Alien, still stands up, still solid.
Absolutely.
And this movie. I mean, Lord knows he's done other movies, but not that I like, not as I like as well as this. And Ridley Scott's an interesting little character. So I saw that he coined 2 phrases, cyberpunk and retrofit. Is that possible?
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, retrofit.
Interessant.
I'm like Fox News, though. I see it on the internet and I report as fact. So
that's how we roll here.
That's right. Please don't bother to email me with corrections because I don't care.
I still put Alien above Blade Runner. That's my feeling.
Okay, Alien does not get as high because it psychologically traumatized me at 14 years old when my father took me to go see that. Yeah,
that'll do it every time. Ridley Scott also directed such classics as Thelma and Louise, Gladiator, Prometheus.
That was okay.
Etc.
Prometheus was Tywin Lannister was in that one, wasn't he?
Was he? I don't think he was in that.
He was in one of those.
He was in Alien 3, Alien to the Third Power.
Oh, okay. Alien Cubed.
Alien. Thank you. Harrison Ford, we all know, he'd obviously just come off Indiana Jones, and he was Han Solo. He was on a run right about now.
Oh yeah, he was hot.
He was,
and he was hot.
Rutger Hauer, you remember him from this? He was in Lady Hawk. He was.
Oh my God, I love it. We did do Lady Hawk, but nobody knows that but us.
It's a classic. He was
with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle and Matthew Broderick. Thank you very much. He was in the immortal classic Blind Fury. Where he's a Vietnam vet who's blind and learns how to master the art of the samurai sword to take on bad guys. So check that out.
And interesting enough, he did not have to. He was virtually unknown except for people deep in the industry. Have you ever heard of Rutger Hauer before 1982? No, you have not. But based on his other movies, and there was like a list of 3 movies that Ridley Scott was obsessed with this dude. He didn't even have to meet with the director. He didn't have to audition. They said, this is the dude.
He's the dude.
And Philip K. Dick said when he thought of Roy Batty, he absolutely thought of Rutger Hauer.
Absolutely.
That he was the perfect.
Rachel was played by Sean Young. You remember her from Stripes, No Way Out, and a few other kind of wacky things.
No Way Out. That was the remake of La Femme Nikita, right?
No.
What was that?
That's A Point of No Return.
Oh, okay.
No Way Out's a good movie. It's Kevin Costner where they think he's a Russian spy.
Kevin, you know how much I hate Kevin Costner.
It's a classic. This was back when
Is it better than Waterworld?
Much better. Edward James Olmos played Gaff, who's another Blade Runner you see hanging about.
Did I read it was his idea to have the blue contacts? It was very freaky. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't know.
And what do you remember seeing Edward James Olmos in?
It's not Stand By Me, because you keep
not
correcting.
Stand By Me. It is Stand and Deliver.
Stand and Deliver.
American Me, Selena. It's an all-star cast.
And not the Sons of Anarchy, but the Mayans Motorcycle Club.
And not Mayans FC. Mayans MC.
MC.
That's right.
It's not the football club. It's not a fight club. It's a motorcycle club.
It's a motorcycle club. Daryl Hannah played Pris, who was another replicant on the run.
Oh my God, she was a string bean. There's like 3-foot space between her two thighs.
She is a beautiful woman, but I've said before, I think she looks freaky in this movie. She's got a weird hairstyle, weird makeup.
You know what, the hair, I like the makeup. The hair reminds me of those Buckingham Palace guards, except it's bleached white.
It was hideous.
Yeah.
You remember Daryl Hannah from Splash, Kill Bill, some other stuff.
Oh, she's fantastic. She's still solid. But the thing that I found disturbing is, so she was made as kind of like a prostitute doll. She's like a Japanese sex doll.
Yes. Standard pleasure model.
Standard pleasure model. So I don't know, but I have seen some porn in my life.
Oh, okay.
Do you not think that if they'd be a little bit more voluptuous, a little bit more feminine? I mean, am I wrong?
To each their own. Okay, she is fully functional, just like Commander Data. So there you have it. A couple interesting and bizarre little cameos that aren't really cameos. J.F. Sebastian is played by William Sanderson, who is better known as...
Oh, what's his name? My name is Earl.
No.
What's his name? He has the two brothers from Newhart. My brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl. What was his name?
Was it Larry?
Maybe it was Larry. Larry the Cable Guy?
It was Larry the Cable Guy. I'll look. I should know this. This is very upsetting.
I just remember he had the two brothers named Daryl.
Yeah, I don't remember.
He must have bounced right off of that into that.
Oh, no question. No question.
Based on your J.S. Sebastian role in Blade Runner, we want you to be the town idiot with two brothers with the same name.
Why not? I mean, if you don't remember Newhart, then you were under 40 years old. I think is the moral of the story.
I think having unlimited channels with 24-hour TV ruined a lot of old TV shows. Back in my day when we had 12 channels, you watched what was on and you didn't complain.
And you liked it.
You liked it that way.
Okay. His name was Larry. My name's Larry. This is my brother Daryl and my other brother Daryl. There you have it.
There you go.
There's another crazy cameo. Eldon Tyrell is played by an actor named Joe Turkel.
What a crazy name.
Isn't that an interesting name? What is he from that we've seen recently?
Damn it. And you told me and it already jumped out of my head. Wait a minute. No, it's gone. Tell me.
He plays the bartender in The Shining.
Yes!
That's it.
Yes! I can tell. It's those glasses he wears in Blade Runner that throw it off.
Right. He's like Lon Chaney. He just transforms when you put on those glasses.
His magic thick glasses.
Clark Kent takes them on. Sweet Jesus. Okay.
I got another behind the scenes.
Lay it on me.
So the closing sequence, after Deckard and his lady friend take off, are unused footage from The Shining.
From the opening of The Shining.
Yeah.
Yep.
The lazy kind of, I don't know, helicopter through the hills of Colorado. I was watching it this time because it's been a year since I saw that. I'm like, wait a minute. Let me do a quick Google search. I'm all Blade Runner Shining. Bing.
Yep. So basically, Rick and Rachel, after they flee from Los Angeles, decide to go to Colorado to the Overlook Hotel, is the moral of the story.
That's right. That they become the first guests at the Overlook. Little known fact. Let's jump right into our own personal rating system. This is a new thing we're doing. I want to say one thing. I just want to say one thing. I want one of those blow dryers, like the replicant have, where you just stick your head into like a vacuum and it's perfectly dried and fluffy and beautiful.
It was like a fishbowl, right? She shoves her head in a fishbowl.
Oh, yeah.
With a tube sticking out of it.
Exactly. It was all super space age. I'm still waiting that for like the whole shower. Like you walk through this blowing thing, suddenly your legs are shaved, your armpits are shaved, you're bathed, and your hair is stylized as you just walk through.
I think we'd all appreciate it if you could find such a device. Boom!
Boom!
So what is your rating of Blade Runner?
Oh, I'm going to give it 5 Roy Batties.
5 out of 5?
5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. I'm going to give it 7 blades that are being run upon. 7 out of 10. So I don't know what the conversion is from 5 Roy Batties to 7 blades, but
to quote The Simpsons, or it's the same as ratio of unicorns to leprechauns. That's The Office. Before you wrap it up, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but
please,
you can find, if you're ever going to be in LA, you can find websites that show you all these places, because Blade Runner was filmed all through Los Angeles. So you can go and just walk into most of these sites. And then another fun fact, in the book, Blade Runner takes place next year, 2021. And
so there's still time.
So there's still time because you missed the November 2019. But next year, San Francisco is when the book takes place.
Beauty. Now, Rotten Tomatoes gave this movie 90% certified fresh. So they think it's dynamite. You think it's dynamite. I think it's pretty good.
All right. Riddle me this, my brother.
Yes.
Why don't you like this movie as much as you should?
I wonder if it's something like I missed my window. You know what I mean?
It's
it's one thing if you see it when you're younger, it kind of gets imprinted on you like a stank.
Okay, I saw it in my 20s.
I didn't see it until I was in my 30s. Or I shouldn't say that. I saw it once in my 20s and then didn't see it again for another 15 years. So I don't know if I just missed my window.
Oh my God.
I think it's
I think your taste dried up between then and now. I think that's what it was.
That could be part of it. We talked about I saw Blade Runner 2049 and I enjoyed that.
Did you enjoy that more than the theatrical release Blade Runner? Oh, I guess not. I guess you had to think about that? I break with thee, I break with thee, I break with thee. I've just broken up with you, brother.
It's a sad situation.
You had to think about that. I mean, I know it's no Die Hard. Oh,
it is not.
Dear Jesus. The shame of it all.
For shame. For shame. Boo. Boo.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
So there you have it. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. You can go to our email us at thepodcastthatwouldn'tdie@gmail.
Gmail.
We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, etc. Like, share, rate, subscribe, and spread the word for God's sakes. Aaron, you are also on Twitter.
I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult.
So become a cultist.
Yes.
So there you
have
it.
Not an occultist. Fine, man.
Become an occultist.
You could do that too. That's your own business. This is America.
We don't judge. We don't judge. So thank you very much and be well.
Peace.